I was a dedicated Army sergeant, returning early from deployment to surprise my wife Amanda. I overheard her on the patio with my buddies' wives laughing about their affairs while we were deployed. Their casual cruelty stunned me as they compared notes on their lovers. Instead of confronting them, I silently recorded everything, determined to protect myself and my brothers in arms. Before we dive into this story of betrayal and justice, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like and subscribe button to support military families. My name is Chester. I am 35 years old and have served in the United States Army for 12 years now. I enlisted right after high school, finding purpose and brotherhood in the military that I had never experienced before. Over the years, I worked my way up to become a sergeant, specializing in communications and intelligence gathering. My role often meant I was responsible for vital information that kept my unit safe during operations. The military life is demanding, but the bonds you form are unbreakable. At least that is what I always believed. My unit became my second family, especially three guys who I consider brothers more than friends: James, Kevin, and Derek. James was our demolitions expert, a calm and methodical guy from Texas with a deep laugh and steady hands. Kevin was our medic, always carrying extra supplies because he could not bear the thought of not being able to help someone in need. Derek was our transport specialist who could drive or fly anything with an engine and get us out of impossible situations. I met my wife Amanda at a military ball 8 years ago. She was stunning in a blue dress that matched her eyes, and we connected immediately. She told me she admired military men, how they stood for something bigger than themselves. We dated for a year before getting married in a small ceremony with my unit members as groomsmen. The early years were beautiful, full of passion and understanding despite the deployments and separations. Our wives became friends too, creating their own support network. Amanda and James's wife Maria would organize barbecues when we were home. Kevin's wife Stephanie would arrange video calls during deployments. Derek's wife Jennifer would coordinate care packages. They called themselves the Military Wives Club and seemed to genuinely support each other through the hardships of military life. Our most recent deployment to Afghanistan lasted 9 months. It was grueling, with constant tension and several close calls. We lost 2 men from our extended unit, and everyone was dealing with the psychological impact of sustained combat operations. All 4 of us counted down the days until we could return to the comfort and safety of home, to the women who represented everything we were fighting for. Due to finishing some administrative duties early, I managed to secure transport home 2 days before my scheduled return. I wanted to surprise Amanda, so I did not tell her. I bought her favorite flowers and a silver bracelet I had commissioned from a local craftsman in Kabul. I imagined the look on her face when I showed up unexpectedly, how she would jump into my arms like she always did. When my taxi pulled up to our modest 2-story house on the outskirts of the military base, I noticed several cars in the driveway. I recognized Maria's red Honda, Stephanie's silver SUV, and Jennifer's blue compact. I figured they were having one of their regular get-togethers, and I smiled, thinking about surprising all of them. As I approached the house, I heard laughter coming from the back patio. Our house backed onto a small wooded area, offering privacy for outdoor gatherings. I decided to sneak around the side of the house and really make my entrance memorable. That was when I heard Amanda's voice clear in the afternoon air. "Troy is insatiable. Last night he wanted to go for round 3, and I was like, wow, Chester never has that kind of stamina." I froze mid-step. Troy. Who the hell was Troy? And why was my wife comparing his sexual performance to mine? I stood perfectly still, hidden by the corner of the house, as more laughter erupted. "At least Chester tries," said another voice, which I recognized as Maria. "James just wants the same boring position every time. Marco knows how to keep things interesting." My stomach dropped and I felt a cold sweat break out across my forehead. My hands began to shake and I had to put the flowers and gift down on the ground to avoid dropping them. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid they might hear it from the patio. I stayed hidden, listening as my world collapsed around me. I felt like I could not breathe, like someone had punched a hole through my chest. But a soldier's training kicks in during crisis. Instead of storming out and confronting them, I pulled out my phone and hit record. Something told me I would need evidence of what I was hearing. As the recording app on my phone captured every word, The conversation on the patio continued, each revelation more painful than the last. Marco and I have been meeting during lunch breaks. Maria continued, taking a sip from what sounded like a wine glass. He has this private office with a lock on the door. Sometimes we do not even make it to his desk. The women erupted in giggles as my friend James's wife detailed her infidelity with her coworker. I felt sick, not just for myself but for James. He had taken a bullet in the shoulder 3 months ago, protecting a civilian family during an ambush. While he was bleeding in the dirt thousands of miles away, his wife was betraying him in the most intimate way possible. "Please, that is nothing," Stephanie's voice chimed in next. "My personal trainer and I have been working out in more ways than one. The gym has these private massage rooms, and let me tell you, Tyler gives the best full-body massages." More laughter followed. Kevin is always so tired after his shifts at the base hospital when he is home. Tyler has energy for days. Kevin, who spent 20-hour shifts patching up wounded soldiers, who sent most of his pay home to Stephanie, who carried pictures of his wife in his helmet. "You ladies are amateurs," Jennifer's voice cut through my thoughts. "Professor Adams and I have been meeting in his office on campus for my private tutorials. He says I am his most dedicated doctoral candidate, if you know what I mean." I felt my jaw clench. Derek had been saving for years to put Jennifer through her PhD program. He worked extra transport missions, volunteering for hazardous duty, because it paid more. He wanted her to achieve her dreams, and this was how she repaid him. "You are all such bad girls." A voice I did not immediately recognize squealed with delight. "This is why I love our little club." "That is all thanks to you, Tanya," Amanda replied. "If you had not convinced me to go for it with Troy at the gym, I would still be sitting around watching TV like a good little army wife." Tanya, Amanda's best friend. She was married to a civilian accountant, not someone in our unit. I had always found her a bit too loud, too flirtatious, but Amanda defended her fiercely. "Life is too short to be lonely," Tanya replied smugly. "Besides, they chose to leave us here all alone." "What did they expect? I know, right?" Amanda agreed. "Like Chester volunteers for every deployment, every training exercise. Then he comes home expecting me to be so grateful. Meanwhile, Troy is right here available every single day." "And night," Maria added, causing another round of laughter. "Tell them what you bought with Chester's combat pay," Tanya urged. My stomach twisted further as Amanda giggled. "Troy mentioned he liked this expensive watch. So I used Chester's last bonus to buy it for him for his birthday. Chester thinks I used it to pay for house repairs." The casual way she said it felt like another bullet. "That bonus was for the 3 weeks our unit spent clearing minefields in extreme heat. 3 weeks of constant fear of watching every step of carrying equipment that felt like it weighed a ton in 100-degree heat. And she had spent it on a gift for her lover." "What are you all going to do when they get back?" Jennifer asked, a note of concern in her voice. "Derek is supposed to return next week." "Same thing we always do," Stephanie replied confidently. "Act super excited to see them have the obligatory welcome home sex, then get back to our regular routine. They will be so busy with debriefings and training that they will not even notice if we are gone a few hours here and there." "Troy already knows the drill," Amanda added. "He is going to take a 2-week vacation to visit his parents in California. That gives Chester time to settle back in, and then Troy will be back in the rotation." "Rotation," Maria snorted. "That is what we should call it. The husband rotation and the boyfriend rotation. To having the best of both worlds." Tanya proposed a toast, and I heard the clinking of glasses. I had heard enough. I stopped the recording and silently retreated to the front of the house. I got back into the waiting taxi, leaving the flowers and bracelet on the ground where I had dropped them. I could not face Amanda now. Not when I felt like I might either vomit or commit violence or both. I checked into a hotel near the base, my mind racing with what I had just discovered. How long had this been going on? Through how many deployments? How many times had I called home from war zones missing her, telling her I loved her? While she was involved with this Troy person, I called my friend Captain Rodriguez, who worked in the Judge Advocate General's office. I needed legal advice before I made any moves. He agreed to meet me at the hotel within the hour. Next, I made the hardest phone call of my life. I dialed James, who I knew was already back from deployment. "Chester, I thought you were not back until Thursday," he answered, sounding genuinely happy to hear from me. "James," my voice cracked, "I need to see you. Something has happened. It involves Maria." There was a pause. "What is wrong? Is Maria hurt?" "Not exactly. I cannot explain over the phone." "Can you come to the Hampton Inn near base room 214? James agreed, confusion evident in his voice. I made similar calls to Kevin and Derek. Kevin had returned a day earlier, like me, and Derek was on the same transport I had been on but had gone straight to his house. They all agreed to come, concern and confusion in their voices. While waiting, I played the recording back, making sure it had captured everything clearly. Each word was like a knife, but I forced myself to listen to make sure I had not misunderstood or imagined what I had heard. The recording was painfully clear. When my brothers arrived one by one, I could see the concern on their faces turn to confusion as they found me sitting rigidly on the edge of the hotel bed, a half-empty bottle of whiskey on the nightstand. "What is going on?" James asked, his Texan drawl more pronounced when he was worried. "You look like hell, man. I need you all to sit down," I said, gesturing to the chairs around the small hotel room. "What I am about to play for you. It is going to hurt, but you need to hear it." I pressed play on the recording. At first there was confusion on their faces, then recognition of their wives' voices, then shock, disbelief. And finally, as the conversation continued, raw pain that mirrored what I had felt hearing it the first time. Kevin punched the wall so hard he put a hole in the drywall. Derek sat in stunned silence, tears streaming down his face. James paced the room like a caged animal, occasionally stopping to put his head in his hands. When the recording ended, the silence in the room was deafening. We had faced gunfire together, explosions, death. But nothing had prepared us for this kind of betrayal from the people we trusted most. "What do we do?" Derek finally asked, his voice hollow. "We get evidence," I replied, my military training kicking in. "We build a case. And then we end this on our terms, not theirs." That night, 4 brothers in arms began planning their response to the betrayal that had been happening in their own homes while they were fighting for their country. The next morning, we consulted with Captain Rodriguez and a civilian attorney who specialized in military divorces. They laid out our options and the evidence we would need to protect ourselves in the coming storm. "Adultery is still punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice," Captain Rodriguez explained. "But you need solid proof beyond the recording, especially since it was obtained without their knowledge." The lawyers advised us on how to legally gather evidence: bank statements showing unusual purchases, phone records documenting text messages and calls, social media communications, location data from their phones. With technological and legal guidance, we developed a comprehensive plan. I returned home that afternoon, telling Amanda that my early return had been canceled due to additional processing requirements. She hugged me, told me how much she missed me, even cried a little. I hugged her back while feeling nothing but hollowness inside. "Just a few more days," she said, stroking my face. "I have big plans for when you get home." I wondered if those plans included her lover taking a convenient vacation to California. The thought made me want to confront her immediately, but I stuck to the plan. The guys and I had agreed we would do this right. With guidance from our tech-savvy lawyer, I installed small legal monitoring devices in our home, software that backed up text messages sent from our Wi-Fi network, a GPS tracker on our shared car, a financial monitoring app that alerted me to any unusual spending from our joint accounts. For 2 agonizing weeks, I lived a double life. I pretended everything was normal while gathering evidence of Amanda's ongoing relationship with Troy, who I discovered was indeed a personal trainer at her gym. I found messages arranging their meetings, explicit photos she had sent him, receipts for gifts purchased with my money. The hardest part was sleeping next to her each night, feeling her body against mine, remembering how I had once loved her more than anything in the world. Now each touch felt like a betrayal, each kiss a lie. I would often wait until she fell asleep, and then move to the couch, claiming in the morning that I was still adjusting to being back from deployment. As we gathered evidence, a clearer picture emerged. The affairs had been going on for over 3 years, spanning multiple deployments. What had started as physical relationships had evolved into emotional attachments. They had holiday traditions with their lovers. Inside jokes. Future plans. The most disturbing discovery was Tanya's role in everything. Text messages revealed that she had actively encouraged the affairs from the beginning, almost as a form of entertainment. She had introduced Amanda to Troy. Maria to Marco, helped arrange alibis, and consistently pushed them to continue even when some expressed guilt. She treated their infidelity like a soap opera for her amusement. Finally, after 2 weeks of evidence gathering, we were ready. All 4 of us arranged to take emergency leave on the same day. The divorce papers were prepared and ready to be served simultaneously to all 4 women. We decided to confront them individually in our own homes, but at the exact same time to prevent them from warning each other. At precisely 10 a.m. that Tuesday, I sat Amanda down in our living room. She seemed confused by my serious demeanor, but still had no idea what was coming. "We need to talk about Troy," I said calmly. Her face went pale, then flushed red. "What? Who is Troy?" I played part of the recording from the patio. Her expression cycled through shock, anger, and fear in seconds. "You were spying on me," she accused, defaulting to offense, as a defense mechanism. "I came home early to surprise you 2 weeks ago. I heard you and your friends on the patio. I heard everything, Amanda." "It is not what you think," she started, tears already forming. "I know exactly what it is," I replied, placing a folder on the coffee table between us. "I have text messages, photos, hotel receipts, and bank statements. I know about the watch you bought him with my combat pay. I know about the 3 years you have been seeing him. I know everything." Her denials crumbled in the face of the evidence. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "It was just physical," she cried. "It did not mean anything. 3 years is not just physical," I countered. "And I do not care anymore. We are done." I slid the divorce papers across the table. "My lawyer will be here in 30 minutes. You can sign these now, or we can do this the hard way. Either way, this marriage is over." "You cannot do this," she said, panic rising in her voice. "You need me. What will you do without me?" "I served in combat zones for years," I replied. "I think I will manage without a cheating wife just fine." Similar scenes were playing out in 3 other households at that exact moment. James, Kevin, and Derek were confronting their wives with their own evidence packets and divorce papers. We had also arranged for Tanya's husband to receive a comprehensive file of her involvement in orchestrating the affairs. Amanda's reaction shifted from denial to bargaining. She promised to break it off with Troy, to go to counseling to be a better wife. When that did not work, she turned to threats. "I will tell everyone you abused me," she hissed through tears. "I will ruin your career." I calmly played another portion of the patio recording, where she and her friends joked about manipulating their husbands. "Try it." The military takes false accusations very seriously. By the time my lawyer arrived, Amanda had moved from threats to bleak acceptance. She signed the papers without further argument, her makeup streaked down her face. That afternoon, the 4 of us met at a local bar to compare notes. The coordinated confrontations had been successful, though emotionally draining. James looked 10 years older. Kevin kept staring into his untouched beer. Derek was the only one who seemed energized, perhaps because taking action felt better than being a victim. "Maria tried to say it was my fault for being gone so much," James said hollowly, "like I was on vacation instead of in a war zone." "Stephanie cried the whole time," Kevin added. "Kept saying she was lonely. Asked how I expected her to go months without intimacy." "Jennifer admitted everything immediately," Derek said. "Said she had fallen in love with her professor. Asked if we could do an open marriage. We shared a grim laugh at the absurdity of it all. Then Kevin's phone rang. The call left him ashen. "That was Marco's wife," he said after hanging up. "Marco shot himself an hour ago. Left a note apologizing to his family. Maria has been calling him non-stop since I confronted her." The news sobered us immediately. We had not considered the collateral damage our actions might cause. But we also knew we could not have continued living lies. A week later, I received an urgent call from my neighbor. Amanda had swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills. I called an ambulance while racing home, some part of me still caring whether she lived or died despite everything she had done. They pumped her stomach in time. The doctors said she would recover physically. Mentally was another question. Her parents flew in from Ohio, initially blaming me for her suicide attempt until I showed them the evidence of her infidelity. Their anger quickly redirected to their daughter. As the divorces proceeded, the wider fallout continued. Tanya, the ringleader, experienced the most spectacular downfall. Her husband divorced her immediately and got full custody of their son by demonstrating her moral character. She was fired from her teaching job when the school board learned of her role in multiple infidelities. Her parents, strict conservative Christians, disowned her publicly. Within months, Tanya lost her home due to financial problems and ended up living in her car. The last I heard, she was applying for minimum wage jobs with no success. Her reputation in our military community completely destroyed. The karma she experienced was proportional to the damage she had caused. Amanda's recovery was slow. She moved in with her parents after being released from the psychiatric facility. Then the pressure began. First, subtle hints from her mother during custody exchanges for our dog. Then, direct appeals from her father. "She has been punished enough," he insisted during one phone call. "As Christians, we are called to forgive. She made a mistake, but she has repented. Forgiveness is possible," I replied. "Reconciliation is not." Her entire family began a campaign calling me regularly, involving our former pastor, even having mutual friends reach out. The message was consistent: I had punished her enough. It was time to take her back. I stood firm despite the pressure. Some relationships cannot be repaired once trust is shattered so completely. Some betrayals cut too deep for reconciliation. The year after the divorces was one of healing and rebuilding for all of us. We leaned on each other. Brothers forged in two kinds of war now, one abroad and one at home. I received a promotion and requested a transfer to a new base in Colorado. The fresh start in the mountains helped clear my mind. James came too, taking a position as a training officer. Kevin and Derek stayed behind but remained in constant contact through our group chat, which we named Survivors. Therapy became a regular part of my routine. I needed to understand how I had missed the signs, how I could have been so blind to Amanda's betrayal. The therapist helped me see that my frequent absences and complete trust had created the perfect environment for deception. "You saw what you expected to see," she explained. "Most people do. You expected loyalty because that is what you give." The hardest part was learning to trust again. Every interaction with a woman left me analyzing her words for hidden meanings, her actions for signs of deception. I turned down dates convinced that I was better off alone than risking another betrayal. James struggled too. He would call me late at night, unable to sleep, replaying moments from his marriage and seeing them in a new light. "Remember when Maria insisted on keeping her maiden name professionally," he said during one such call. "She said it was about feminism. Now I wonder if it was so Marco would not know she was married." Kevin threw himself into his medical work, taking extra shifts at the hospital. Derek surprisingly rebounded the quickest, perhaps because Jennifer had been the most honest during their confrontation, or perhaps because he had always been the most resilient among us. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I received a letter from Amanda. She was in therapy, taking medication, working part-time at her parents' hardware store. She accepted responsibility for her actions without excuses and did not ask for reconciliation. It was the first communication from her that felt genuine in years. I did not reply, but I did feel a weight lift. My anger was giving way to indifference, the first sign of true healing. A year later, I met Sarah at a mountain rescue training exercise. She was a paramedic with search and rescue, fearless and straightforward. On our third date, I told her everything that had happened with Amanda. I expected her to run. Instead, she reached across the table and took my hand. "My husband died in Afghanistan," she said simply. "I know about loyalty and sacrifice. Not everyone does." The bond with my military brothers remained the constant in my life. We had experienced a unique betrayal together, and that created a connection that no one else could understand. We still met up for camping trips, still called each other when the memories became too much, still had each other's backs unconditionally. I eventually realized that true loyalty is revealed in crisis, not in comfort. My wife had failed that test, but my brothers had not. The women we married had bonded over betraying us, while we had bonded over surviving that betrayal. I also learned that forgiveness is possible without reconciliation. I no longer wished Amanda ill. I hoped she would find peace and build a better life. But that life would never again include me. Self-respect demanded maintaining that boundary despite her family's continued pressure to reconcile. The hardest battles are not always fought on battlefields. Sometimes they happen in living rooms and courtrooms, in therapists' offices and sleepless nights. But like all battles, survival depends on courage, strategy, and having the right people beside you. If you have faced betrayal like we did, know that healing is possible. If you are serving our country while worrying about what is happening at home, I hope your trust is being honored. And if you are considering betraying someone who is risking their life for others, remember that karma eventually finds everyone, as Tanya discovered too late. Have you ever had to rebuild trust after a major betrayal? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories. Share this with someone who might need to hear that they can survive even the deepest betrayals. Thank you for listening. And remember to value the people who stand by you when tested, not just when it is easy.